The Hoyle Homestead Association received a grant to help promote the importance of this historic site to the people of Gaston County, North Carolina, and the Southeast. What we know as the Hoyle site began as early as 1754, when Peter Hoyle received his first land grant from King George II. Some settlers lived on the land before it was officially theirs. There were some settlers coming to this area by way of the Great Wagon Road of the Shenandoah Valley to look for land to build a home. This map shows the area before 1770 as Tryon County. This is a reproduction of the list of land grants of 300 acres and 500 acres to Peter Hoyle in May of 1754. George II was the King of England at this time. Peter's son John owned some of the land also. This is a reproduction of the survey of this land. Old documents like this one are rare. Militia groups were formed to protect settlers on the frontier. This is a list from the era that shows 35 Germans, 7 Scotch-Irish, 7 English, 5 Dutch, and 2 Frenchmen. This map shows where each of the groups settled with their families. There were few roads or towns. Most settlers built near streams and rivers. The militia group probably looks similar to these reenactors. This period is before the American Revolutionary War. Both Peter and his son were killed, possibly serving in the militia group. Families were self-sufficient. They grew their own food, made their own clothing, and sometimes working together to build homes. Tools like these were used to build the Hoyle house. This drawing of the Hoyle log house shows a unique German construction that Peter Hoyle used. While flatter South Carolina's coastal plain developed into large plantations, North Carolina was a colony of smaller farms. This drawing shows what the Hoyle site probably looked like, with several outbuildings. The Hoyle house is built like this. Can you see how the logs fit together using a corner post? This is the only house like this known to still exist in North Carolina. This dovetail log construction is the type used in most log structures in North Carolina. Mud and straw packed between the logs kept out the cold air. Upstairs in the house, the family later covered the log walls with plaster. The house had several fireplaces for warmth, and children often had the chore of bringing in the firewood that they had gathered. An artist's drawing of the inside of the house shows that the Hoyles had more space than most families who lived in one-room cabins. Notice that the roof turns up at the edges to keep rain from running down the outside walls. There were no such things as gutters. Sometimes the children slept in the lofts or attics of the houses, and this box in the Hoyle attic could be filled with straw for a mattress. Andrew Hoyle became the owner of the estate in 1794. It is believed that he changed the house by adding a kitchen wing and by covering the logs with wood siding. The Hoyles had a grist mill on Hoyles Creek that flowed into the South Fork River just upstream from the house. Here the families got their flour and cornmeal and exchanged information with their neighbors. Andrew Hoyle saw the plantation grow into a village named Hoylesville. In 1812 he was named postmaster of the area for the first federal post office. It stood near the house. Andrew was a man of great wealth, and it is written that he owned many slaves who helped grow the crops. Pictures show slave families and slave quarters as they appeared on the farms during the 1800s. Africans kept part of their culture through their storytelling and strong spirituality. A newspaper article in the Gastonia Gazette in 1946 celebrated Gaston County's centennial, telling of Andrew Hoyle's importance. The article reports that Andrew Hoyle owned 18,831 acres of land, 4 stores, industrial interests including the Kings Mountain gold mine, many acres in High Shoals, the Abernathy Forge, and business property in Lincoln and Cleveland County. After his death in 1857, it took 25 years to settle his estate. This map, dated 1871, shows the area. Note there is no Gastonia yet. Dallas is the center of activity, being the county seat. Families changed with the times, as did their houses. You can see the second floor that was added over the kitchen wing at the left of this old photograph. Another photograph shows the various outbuildings. Just behind the woman is the chicken coop. In the 1830s, another Hoyle house was built nearby for Eli Hoyle. For 250 years, families have lived on the Hoyle lands. It all started with a log house built in the days of George Washington. It has changed to what you see today, driving along the Dallas-Stanley Highway. The Hoyle Association was formed in 1991 to buy the house. After some historical research, the house was listed in the National Register of Historical Places. Shortly afterwards, the organization received tax-exempt status. A grant was obtained for the structured evaluation. It was partially funded by the National Park Service. This brought the attention of architectural specialists from Winnetou, Williamsburg, Old Salem, and Archives and History in Raleigh. The condition of the house was very poor, but it was still standing. The west side of the house has suffered the addition of a porch, and the original front porch has been enclosed to make another kitchen. The house was serving as 3 apartments. The large barn had fallen and 2 other structures were about to be lost. So another grant from the Department of Cultural Resources enabled the association to stabilize and restore the brick well house and the little white frame outbuilding. Its original use has not yet been discovered, possibly a plantation office, a weaving room, or a schoolhouse. Then work began in earnest on the main house. Termites had destroyed the main sills, and the reclaiming of the front porch was the most dramatic project. The other kitchen additions on the northeast corner were removed, indicating a porch was originally there. The east side was repaired and this porch was rebuilt. Both pictures are on the east side, but from different angles. This photograph shows all 3 outbuildings that are on the site: the brick well house, the frame house, and the log feed barn beyond the trees. And here's another photograph of the 2 outbuildings. The 2-story log barn was given to the homestead by the Harley Gaston family and is also being restored. The tombstones were rescued from the cemetery across the road, and it has been bulldozed. This photograph shows the corner of the post office that is no longer standing. Wouldn't it be great to rebuild it to help tell the story of Hoylesville? Archaeological digs have shown foundations of other buildings, raising a lot of interest. At one point, this was the foundation of the large barn. The annual open house is held the 2nd Saturday in September because it is the time of the year of Peter Hoyle's arrival to the area. There are demonstrations, speeches, activities, and food. Here are some additional photos of the open house. Reenactors are from the Kings Mountain National Park Service. Demonstrations always liven up the day. Local musicians provide entertainment for the day. Blacksmithing was extremely important to a family in the 1800s, as was the woman's ability to do handwork. Both are being demonstrated on this slide. The photographer shows the house as it exists today, showing its evolution. A closer look will reveal lots of clues to how life was lived here before this was called the United States. Please dream with us about what this historic homestead can become.